feet or something, but in general, feel stable, I guess.
Welcome to modern life.
That might be a boring thing, but as you mentioned. But so yeah, I do connect with them, what you said, and it makes sense to me.
Okay. Particular card, if you look at it, you have the 4-4, very, very obvious there, and I find that fascinating in itself because that's the way that I see the card, as a 4-4, not a complete 8. But if you look closely, those discs are actually connected. And in the first pattern, which is very obvious because it's very, very common, you have a question mark going on. And then when you take a second look, you see that it's almost Kabbalistic. Hi, I'm Ariel Sirocco. I'm an integrative hermeticist. I follow the teachings of Hermes. I use as my sacred tome the Corpus Hermeticum and the Dead Sea Scrolls. I am a ritualist. I have been an esotericist for some, 28 years. You can do the math. And I am trying to revive the ancient Hermetic tradition through a variety of different means. I am a 32nd degree Mason of the Scottish Rite. I am a worshipful master of my lodge, Union Lodge number 5 in Stamford. Well, welcome to Union Lodge number 5, where it all happens. Let's take a look inside. Here we're coming in through the western door, into the lodge, the temple room itself. I see the door is closed. Let's try and get admittance. I am a charter-holding member of the OTA here in New York for New Alexandria, NYC. I am a tarot reader. I've been doing that since college, which has been a couple of decades now. I actually got into it because I started studying Jungian psychology, which is a story unto itself, I guess. As I said, I'm located here in New York, and you can find me out on the web, arielsirocco.com. And it was my pleasure to do this reading. And I'm hoping that we'll meet in the future. We'll meet in the future. We'll meet in the future.
My name is Kevin Pelrine. Started the Tarot Society as an event series back in 2013. Opened up this place, the Tarot Society Gallery and Reading Room, in 2015 as a home for our events, for readings, for workshops and classes and musical events and art shows, of which we first featured your tarot paintings in one of our first art shows ever, and that is actually how we met.
That's very true. That's very true.
And I'm very happy to present new tarot art, new artists interpreting the tarot in different ways, and it was really wonderful to see your deck, all 78 cards on the wall, and to do readings spontaneously on the wall as they happened. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm a tarot reader. I teach classes on beginners tarot. It's one of the the joys I have in introducing tarot and these subjects to people who don't know anything about them at all. I feel like there's usually like a barrier of like the old musty occult shop where people are afraid to ask questions, so they don't know enough. And here we open it up to beginners, to people that are they want to know but they're afraid to ask. Mm-hmm. And we try to make this a nice, warm, welcoming environment for people to explore these things.
Hello, Ariel.
Yeah, hello, Robert. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
So we're here for a tarot reading. I believe that this is going to be your first.
Yes.
Very exciting. Very exciting. And we're going to be using your deck.
That's true.
Fantastic.
All of my paintings.
Fantastic. Okay, so what I want you to do, as with most traditional readings, is that we have the person being read for actually shuffle the cards.
Okay.
Now, I want you to do this in a particular way. Most of the time, people ask you to think of a particular question. That's not what I'm going to ask you to do now. What I'd like you to do, as you shuffle the cards, to actually draw from a well of emotion. Think about your favorite poem, your favorite movie, your favorite activity, that kind of thing, in order to invest what may be your particular signature of energy inside of the cards. And then we're going to defer to the wisdom of the cards itself in order to do the reading, okay? So, shuffle.
All right. Favorite movie, favorite poem.
Favorite movie, favorite poem.
Okay.
It's the feel-good things in your life.
You'd laugh if I said my favorite movie, but okay.
Uh-oh.
All right. Now shuffle them this way, or does it do? Can they?
Actually, I would prefer that you shuffle them
over them like a deck of cards. Like
yeah.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
So we're playing
yeah.
like we're playing a game.
That's right.
You don't want to see the aces, although some of them are named.
That's all right.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, maybe we'll do this. So, okay. I think that's good.
Okay, there we
I'm
go.
happy with that.
Give that a little tap for good luck. Here we go.
All right.
All right. Now, what we're going to be doing here is a very basic spread. Inner, outer, east, ooh, south, west, north. All right. Now the reading here is going to be very particular. We're using a new style of reading for these cards.
Okay.
Not only are the cards themselves very unique and come with their own frequency, but I'm going to be employing my own method of reading the cards, okay? So, all right, and I'm going to tell you the qualities of each position, the way that the cards are laid out, all right? Here we have the outer. This is what most people perceive what your charactership is, okay? This is the inner. This is the inside you, the secret you, the you that talks to you, so to speak. Okay? This is the East card. The beginning, the mental attributes. It could designate a person, somebody who is intellectually involved with whatever's going on, but not emotionally engaged. This is the South, the place of action. Okay, it could also designate summer or, noon, particular time frame for you. This is the West, the realm of emotions and spirituality. So everything that's within that realm can be found in this card here, in this position. This is the temple room, or the lodge proper itself. When we come in through the western gate, we come in through the two pillars, Jacob and Boaz. They symbolize quite a few things. I can't get into the whole story, but you will see that up on the top is a celestial globe of all the stars and such. On this side is the terrestrial globe, or the Earth globe, and we enter in through the center. They have the same kind of symbology that the Kabbalistic tree of life does, where we have the pillars of severity and mercy. And man, of course, is the middle pillar. He comes in through the center of that. This is the West. Of course, at the West, we have the senior warden, and he is in control of the West. He actually has authority to admit, or have admitted, brothers coming into the lodge. His responsibilities are to help the worshipful master in governing the lodge, in opening, closing the lodge itself, to make sure that the master's orders are obeyed. He also makes sure that payment, if any is due, is given to the brothers of the lodge for whatever service they may have accomplished. His primary goal is to make sure that there is harmony within the lodge. Harmony being the strength and support of all societies, but more especially of ours. His role is so important that he has an assistant, which is called the junior deacon. And the junior deacon has a couple of different roles. He confers with the Theile, who's outside. The Theile guards the lodge itself. So he makes sure that the Theile is well informed as to when the lodge is open and closed. He also communicates orders from the senior warden in the West to the junior warden in the South, and we're about to go there now. And this is the North. This is your physical landscape. It could be that which is immediate, but it also has a connotation of timelessness, something that is the stage on which all the actions are going to be carried out in. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the cards are read not from your perspective. The cards are going to be read from my perspective. So this card, this one,
my job is to make the cards. I am tuned into the past and future to orchestrate the accuracy of the readings. Past and potential future events are programmed within the cards. They see the big picture and who they potentially will be reading in every possible dimensional level. They are intelligent cards. I make them conscious.
All past and future events are programmed within the cards.
Through sound and vibration, I make the cards have consciousness. Through sound and vibration, I make the cards have consciousness. Through sound and vibration, I make the cards have consciousness. Through sound and vibration, I make the cards have consciousness.
actually, except for the showing card, as far as I know, actually these two cards, and it's interesting, all the other cards are in an upside down position, so they come along with their own meaning in that way.
Yeah.
But these two cards seem to be right side up, which is significant and very funny in a way.
Okay.
Okay, so the outer, the moon. It's funny that you should have this particular card as the face that everyone sees, because it comes along with its own spirituality, that of mystery. Usually this card, I find, frequently shows up in the inner quadrant, the spiritual side. Now, I would not hazard to guess that you're a very spiritual person, but judging by what the card is telling me, there is a sense of mystery that other people perceive, a kind of spirituality which enlivens your physical surroundings. It gives life to it. So this is what people perceive you to be, which is not a bad thing. This is the inner card. This is the Eight of Wands, or as I like to call it, the 4-4, or the logic of logic. This is a very active card. It's full of energy, but just not energy, random, chaotic energy. It's specific energy for a particular kind of growth. And because it's a wand card, it is that of almost perpetual giving birth to. Understand?
Okay.
But because of its number designation, that of 8, or 4-4 is the way that I like to say it, the logic of logic, is that there's this particular intellectual construct behind this growth. Where it may seem free-flowing to others, internally speaking, there's a particular thought process going on. It's a kind of creativity that doesn't create for its own sake, but creates for itself in a particular fashion. There is a method to your madness, spiritually speaking. Very, very rare card to have there. I'm happy that it is there. This card, I'm hoping that the camera can see it, is the World card. I find it fascinating that the World card in this particular position, which is the Eastern quadrant, that of the intellect, the mind, that it shows up in the upside down position. This is the Junior Warden Station in the south. His main function is going to be to make sure that the events of the lodge, when we are not at labor, when we're at refreshment, are done. He cooks for the lodge. He makes sure that our social festivities go well. Make sure that the dishes are all cleaned. His station is so labor intensive that he has 2 assistants. They are the stewards. He has one on his left and one on his right, and the stewards help him perform all of these functions. Then we move to the east.
Through sound and vibration, I make the cards have consciousness. Through sound and vibration, I make the cards have consciousness. Vibration. Everything in the universe is in constant motion, both internally and externally. Even material forms we may consider to be inanimate. All moves and vibrates in accordance with fixed laws, most of which are entirely unknown to material science. Any change in one's mental state alters the vibration of every living particle within us. In this lies the key to health and disease, success and failure, strength and weakness. I'm a light worker. I make consciousness through the cards.
Here at the east, we have the worshipful master of the lodge. The worshipful master sits up here. He normally has his gavel. And from here he can command the lodge itself. He has two chairs to his left and his right. On his right-hand side, if there is a visiting worshipful brother or a dignitary from Grand Lodge, they can be invited to sit at his right-hand side in the east. And he has his chaplain over on the left. The chaplain is supposed to take care of the prayers and all of the religious aspects of the lodge itself. Above the worshipful master's chair is the letter G, crowned here with the ornamentation. The G is above the worshipful master to remind him of two different things. The G stands for geometry. As speculative masons, that is, symbolic masons, we don't really build things unless there is a brother mason that's actually a construction worker or a stone mason. It is to remind the worshipful master of the geometry, that the grand architect of the universe created everything that is through the process of geometry.
Three. Welcome to the temple. I am the architect. I create the universe and I influence the world below. Seven. How did you become the architect of the universe?
Worldly matters are indeed acknowledged, but worldly matters are not the aim. It is in a very strong way related to the inner you, which is the Eight of Wands. These two cards can work in tandem, and indeed there is a spiritual quality to that of the East. The fact that the world may not have the absolute value that it may have for others places it almost in a timeless position. And in a way, it is always beginning, very much like the inner quality of your spiritual card, the inner card. And I find that enormously fascinating, because they are related. That should most definitely be taken into account whenever you are creating. It could be a word of wisdom, it could be a shield of defense, to not allow the world to get into your creative process. For the camera. The King of Swords. The King of Swords reversed. The King of Swords reversed in the southern quadrant, the quadrant of fire, that of action.
Oh, I guess it was a matter of occasion, or it's something that I couldn't avoid, or maybe I was always the architect, and one day I realized that I was the architect, so all I have to do is keep creating the universe. 12. The universe was always there. There's no Big Bang that made anything. Maybe the Big Bang moved things around a little bit. And for us mortals, it might sound like a disproportion to conceive that things are done in a way, but they were always there. They were always there, like certain laws. And then the laws of the universe wasn't created there, they were discovered.
The King of Swords, by and large, often represents someone not just with a cutting mind, but someone who quite frequently uses that mind to institute a kind of discipline or structure upon the world, whether it wants it or not. The letter G can also stand for God, for which every Mason here must subscribe to in some belief system of their own liking. That is the lodge itself. If I may just take you one more time around, and we'll wind up in the western gate again. I want to show you the square, that every Mason must act by the square, and this is the tool, the working tool of the Master of the Lodge. In the south, we have the Junior Warden, as I said earlier, and his working tool is that of the plum, that although we may be at refreshment and not at labor, that we all stand upright. Especially when refreshment is concerned, you want to make sure that excessive wine is not indulged in, which is always a nice pastime to have some nice wine. But he makes sure that we are proper, like a sophrosyne in the old Greek terms. And then for the Senior Warden, we have the plum to make sure that everything, that our foundation stone is level, that we have proper ground on which to work on. While that quality does have its certain power within the world that we live in, it's not a very spiritual card in that way. And once again, I find it fascinating that that card is actually reversed in this reading. Again, it has the inculcation of a spiritual quality, someone who's allowing not only personal growth within their action, because this is the realm of the fire, not only within their action, but also that this growth does not hamper the growth of others. You're not using your intellectual prowess to dictate how others move. You're not cutting their potential, so to speak.
The flower brings forth creation. I just leave it alone. It's all there. One sees eternity in things that passed away and infinity in infinite things, then one has pure knowledge. It's 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12. 3, 7, 12.
Considering that this card is in a place of power and it has that particular attribute, it does live within this family of cards very, very nicely. And just as an outside remark, I see that these cards, in its totality, not only does it have a lot of creativeness, but it's very classic or stereotypical in its way. I see these cards as enormously related to one another. In their meaning, it's almost as if the system reinforces itself, which is enormously fascinating considering that this is a deck designed by you. You're actually invested in this deck already, spiritually speaking, and as an artist. So, so again, I get this sense of creativity. It's an open creativity. It's a structured creativity, but one that does not happen not only with any kind of domineering force, but a rather spiritual force.
Together time, space, and form. I stitch 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 together time, space, and form.
To the Western card. And this is enormously fascinating. So this is the Six of Swords. Six of Swords reversed. Now the number 6 itself, the hexagram, has a spiritual quality to it. If it was in the right side position here, I would actually caution you against too much emotion, because that in itself would produce an error, let's say, if there's too much emotion involved in any endeavor.
Not necessarily a dream, it's more like a waking, one of my waking thoughts. Not necessarily a dream, it's more like a waking, one of my waking thoughts. Not necessarily a dream, it's more like a waking, one of my waking thoughts. I remember when I was a child, I would have a dream about this recurring figure that would be hiding in the shadows or the closet. And it would, and it always looked the same. It had like a head, like a big disc, and it had eyes on top of it, and it was huge. And it kept making a sound, like a buzzing sound. And then I remember, then one night I woke up and I heard my father snoring. And I think I was probably 5 or 6, and I made the connection, oh, this is what I'm dreaming about. You know, this is the noise that's coming into my dream. And then I remember seeing, we had these, you know, in the 70s, you could go to the beach and buy these little like seashell figures, and we had this clamshell thing with eyes on it. It's like, oh, that's okay. You know, this is what I'm dreaming about. I made this connection when I was young, but that was a dream that terrified me for a long time. I always like when people who've passed on come to visit me in my dreams. It's never upsetting. It's always pleasant. It's always a good memory. And it seems to happen fairly common with us.
There is a possibility to grab onto everything and give everything the same kind of weight, losing its structure. You're just all over the place. But this card is in the upside down position. which is good because it's in the western quadrant, the cups quadrant. So here we have the sword and the cups coming together, which produces a very good balance in that area. Considering that it's the six of, no less, the swords, and we see the swords again pop up. And you happen to have a lot of male energy in this. You know, I see a lot of swords and wands and such in very key places. Life is always regenerative, that where it begins is where it ends, where it begins. It's a never-ending circle, let's say.
I make dreams become a reality by stitching time. I make dreams become a reality by stitching time. I make dreams become a reality by stitching time. I make dreams become a reality by stitching time. I make dreams become a reality by stitching time. There are different levels of consciousness and understanding and existing. That said, there are things that we cannot know, and that makes sense to me, because we can process something consciously using words and language, but then there are things that we cannot put into words and language, and it's not because we don't possess the vocabulary for it, but because we just can't express it.
Again, the swords deal with the realm of the intellect. But this card shows up in the western quadrant, so it's an intellect or a steel that's tempered by water, the coolness of the water. There is a spiritual quality to this, but it's not an overbearing spiritual quality. And the reason I say spiritual quality is because the number 6 actually designates the hexagram, which is the traditional or the very ancient symbol for that of an angel or angelic beings.
The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were all Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are the same, differing only in degree. The pairs of opposites may be reconciled. Extremes meet. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half-truths. Everything truth is half false. There are two sides to everything, etc., etc., etc. It explains that in everything there are two poles, or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same thing, with many varying degrees between them. To illustrate, heat and cold. Although opposites are really the same thing, the difference consisting merely of degrees of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see if you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. The two terms, heat and cold, simply indicate varying degrees of the same thing, and that same thing which manifests as heat and cold is merely a form, priority and rate of vibration. So heat and cold are simply the two poles of which we call heat, and the phenomena attendant thereupon are manifestations of the principle of polarity.
The Page of Swords. Again,
Swords.
the Swords. The Page of Swords. It's in the upside down position. Immediately I would tell you that, well, first of all, it's in the northern quadrant, that of the physical landscape. Because it's in the upside down position, it is not a youthful card. It is a card of maturity. It's past that. Because it's not one of the numerical cards, that it's actually one of the court cards, I would say that it is not only a card of maturity, but one of sophistication. So not only does it bring in age into the equation, so to speak, but age that has a particular kind of sophistication to it. Considering that it's in the northern quadrant, or the stage, or the earth realm, the earth sphere, my impression with this would be that your environment, the raw material that you are working with, has a certain quality that can invest you with the particular keys or tools that you need right now. It's nothing that you need to develop.
The same principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same thing, the difference consisting of varying degrees between the two poles of the phenomena. Where does darkness leave off and light begin? What is the difference between large and small, between hard and soft, between black and white, between sharp and dull, between noise and quiet, between high and low, between positive and negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principle can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example, that of love and hate, two mental states apparently totally different, and yet there are degrees of hate and degrees of love, in a middle point in which we use the term like or dislike, which shade into each other so gradually that sometimes we are at a loss to know whether we like or dislike, or neither. And all are simply degrees of the same thing, as you will see if you will but think a moment. And more than this, and consider of more important by the Hermetists, it is possible to change the vibrations of hate to the vibrations of love, in one's own mind, in the minds of others. Many of you who read these lines have had personal experiences of the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate, and the reverse, in your own case and that of others. And you would therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by the use of the will, by means of the Hermetic formulas.
This card in this position, not only because it's upside down, but because it's in the northern position, in a strange way or in an esoteric way, actually I see being related to the Magician's card, specifically because it is here. The tools that are brought to the table, that which is in your physical environment, these things are ready to be used. You don't have to massage them or develop them in any which way. That in itself brings a particular kind of power to it. So immediately, that is the first thing that jumps out at me, is that it is a very, very healthy spread, that there seems to be an internal organization going on here that's not normally found in a lot of readings. Some, yes, but not most. So I see that. I see a lot of a particular kind of balance, despite the fact that there are no cups. There is a certain form of absence of worldliness and because there is this absence of worldliness, it makes room for the spiritual to come in, because there's space for that kind of quality to grow. There are quite a few cards here that designate that. And I would say that and it's very funny because I see that a lot of people have a duplex kind of thing going on, that which the outside world sees and that which is inner. But I see that pretty much that the inner and outer, designated by these two cards here, are very much the same. So unlike with most people, what you see is what you get, which is really awesome. I appreciate that, just as one human speaking to another. So I see that kind of system here going on.
Good and evil are but the poles of the same thing, and the Hermetist understands the art of transmuting evil into good by means of an application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phrase of mental alchemy, known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle would enable one to change his own polarity, as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art.
In the final analysis, what I would have to say, that what you're doing, keep on, carry on, and pretty much in the exact same way that you have been proceeding now. Whatever course that you happen to be, whatever pathway, segment of road, let's say, that you happen to be in your life now, I think that you may want to carry that at least a few stages further, because whatever you're doing right now, it seems to be working, that there's a very nice homeostasis here, a nice balance going on between the inner and the outer, between the intellect and the spirit, between what you're working on and what it produces. There seems to be a very good ratio between that. Here endeth the reading. It's just completely different language. You throw in these things that,
Well, it already comes
the
from
accents.
a deck that's quite different. This just
It's my Catholicism coming out.
Okay.
God doesn't pause. Pause. Like stop. With God there is no inertia. There are no empty spaces.
I love it.
There may be open spaces for us, or trees and vegetable, what do I do now? But that's not the case, in my personal philosophy, you know? And while most decks do have that blank card, okay, so we've done the reading for you. Let me turn the inner card back out so that the audience can see as well. That's the reading, and that's what I perceive out of the cards, from the cards. Before we get into other things, since this is your first experience with this, I want to capture your feeling while it's still fresh. Do you have any questions about the reading itself?
Some observations. Questions, not so much. As I mentioned to you off camera, that this was the first time, so I'm more interested in how this works.
Okay.
And how you were explaining where the cards were, and like inner, outer, north, south, east, and west.
Do you want me to give you a quick run through of that, of how the system is?
Yeah.
Or do you want to make a few
I'll make a
statements
few
first?
statements first. So all of this seems to, I connect with all of this, of what you said about the cards and how they're saying things.
Rhythm, 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 rhythm. Everything in the universe is subject to rhythm. Up and down, left and right, dark and light, backwards and forwards. In this law lies the key to understanding and controlling all activity, whether mental or physical, both within ourselves and in our environment. A simple example of this is the well-known saying that a wise man bends to the storm, a fool resists and is broken.
And the inner and the outer portions, and how they're very similar, you said, or balanced?
Yeah,
balanced. And how everything is kind of stable. I feel stable. At times I don't, when I don't have enough caffeine or something, but you know, in general, I feel stable, I guess.
Welcome to modern life.
That might be a boring thing. So yeah, I do connect with them, what you said, and it makes sense to me.
Okay.
So, which is good. So it's not something like radically different where I'm like, what the hell is that? And yeah, and so now you mentioned the specific reading. You were reading a certain way. So
right, yeah.
I forget the term you mentioned, but how this is set up right now. Now, what was that called again?
Spiral spread.
Spiral spread.
I normally refer to it as the spiral soul spread. Now this is just the basic layout. Normally there is a kind of tower of 3 cards on each side. The feminine, which would be on the left, the masculine is on the right, and there's a progression then of those particular qualities pertaining to the scenario that's going on. And then at the apex of those 3 is a 7th card. And that would be considered the Godhead card, or the 2 sides becoming one, which should have some kind of relationship to the inner and the outer card. Now, but addressing the general spread that we have here, there is an inner quality, that which is by and large hidden from the rest of the world, a spiritual side, if you will. Then what people perceive you to be, the outer card, okay? Between these 2, you try and find the balance. One is your inner ability, and the other you can perceive as something like outer tools, because how people perceive you to be can be framed in a particular way so that you can get the best out of a project.
Rhythm. Everything in the universe is subject to rhythm. up and down, left and right, dark and light, backwards and forwards. In this law lies the key to understanding and controlling all activity, whether mental or physical, both within ourselves and in our environment. A simple example of this is the well-known saying that a wise man bends to the storm, a fool resists and is broken.
So it's always good to know those particular tools, not only your inner energy, but what's available to you through other people's perceptions.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the rest of the cards are almost in an elemental position, or a directional position, a cardinal direction position. Reading them as if I was looking at a map, because this is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
This would be the east. Mm-hmm. This would be the south, the west, and then the north. If you're looking at it in a modern esoteric fashion, the east is usually the place of beginnings. Mm-hmm. It is the realm of the mind, the sphere of the intellect. You can also say that it could be a certain particular time of day. If there's a specific question to be asked, well, this would be the morning or the dawn. And this would be the south, so it would be noon or late spring, summer, and so on. So each card, or each position, the east, the south, the west, and the north, carries its own attribute. Not only that of quality, the realm of the intellect, the realm of action, the realm of emotions, and the earthly realm. Mm-hmm.
I bless these cards with all kinds of feminine and masculine energies. I'm Joan Hacker. I'm a photographer and musician in New York City. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its feminine and masculine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. My work deals with gender in a lot of different ways. My photography series at night, for example, appears very masculine. This image in particular, you could say, is quite masculine. Masculine energy, feminine energy. Masculine energy, feminine energy, masculine energy, feminine energy.
But it also can carry a connotation of time frame, the beginning, the middle, the ending, and then that which is eternal, that stage on which all of this occurs. It also carries the seasons and so on. But it also carries, depending on the question and the seeker, the kind of person involved. And the astrological signs can be attributed to each spot, like Gemini, or for the east, or Leo or Aries for the fire, so on. So yes, and they're read with these two coming first, depending on the seeker. It's up to the reader to decide what the seeker is actually looking for. Depending on the kind of question that they may have, they may be in doubt of themselves and where they're coming from. So obviously you're going to start with the inner card, which kind of breaks the ice and allows the rest of the spread to be read and accepted a little bit more smoothly. And then the outer, east, south, west, and then north again. So that's the basic spread. Normally this kind of spread here takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, and then it can be elaborated on by using the pyramid shape, the other structure that I was referring to earlier.
All phenomena have both masculine and feminine energy. Sometimes the feminine energy is dominant, and at other times the masculine energy is dominant. Sometimes when I'm taking these images, I feel like I'm sending out a blend of feminine and masculine energies into the world, and even affecting the flow of these energies on a larger scale. All things, objects, people, have both masculine and feminine energy. Sometimes the masculine energy is dominant, and sometimes the feminine energy is dominant.
About the card, well, actually, before we even get into that, I find myself as a reader in a very unique position because you are the artist of these fine cards, very, very fascinating cards. And as I had said off camera, I want to touch upon it here again, that normally the person who creates the cards doesn't have somebody else read those cards that they've created for them. It's almost a very strange kind of mirror kind of reflective thing, you know, so this is very, very unique in that aspect. But about the cards themselves, I'd like to get into that with you if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah.
What was the impetus for making these cards? Because they come with their energies and they're so different from other cards that I've read.
Well, the idea was a friend of mine wanted me to get back into painting. So I had my mother's tarot deck, and I figured, well, it'd be nice to do like a homage to my mom, and like it's fun to do a tarot deck. And you know, I think I did 10 first for the show I did in Chile.
Okay.
And then, of course, I had to, being a completist, I had to finish the deck. So I painted them from 2014 to 15, pretty much. So it was over a period of about 2 years. So certain things were going on in my life. So some would tell you one story and some would tell you another story, or maybe both stories. So, so that's kind of how the cards started. And I learned a little bit about the cards. Well, not a lot, but like, you know, I know kind of the name of this one, and you know, and kind of read into some of the symbolism and kind of deciphered some of it myself, and then I would add my own imagery, and so it's kind of like 50% of the integrity of the old 1JJ deck, and then 50% is my ideas, basically, and how I did them. The cards that were the most fun was the minor part of the deck. Because it was like, great, they're like these abstract designs I can do, you know, it was more fun. The other ones, like the major arcana, were kind of a pain in the ass because, well, they kind of had to have certain things, you know. So, you know, I was happy to be done with those. I mean, they're probably the most interesting to look at, but the minor was a lot more fun. I hope you don't mind
if I ask you about the minors, because there's certain things within the minors that are really cool.
I'm applying female energy with this card. I'm applying masculine energy with this card. I'm applying a mixture of masculine and feminine energy with this card. However, my experience as a photographer is uniquely feminine. Can you imagine walking around the streets of New York in the middle of the night by yourself? There are tons of creeps, tons of weirdos. People leer at me, try to talk to me. Sometimes it's really scary.
Well, first of all, let me start out with asking you, when you were doing the minors, was there certain symbolism that you knew that you had to include, or was this more of a free flow kind of thing? Because there's certain symbols within the minors, like let's say the 8 of disc, where that particular card, if you look at it, you have the 4-4, very, very obvious there, and I find that fascinating in itself, because that's the way that I see the card, as a 4-4, not a complete 8. But if you look closely, those discs are actually connected. And in the first pattern, which is very obvious because it's very, very common, you have a question mark going on. And then when you take a second look, you see that it's almost Kabbalistic. And those 8 discs are almost like kind of sephiras. And that brings its own energy in. Now, with things like that, did you purposely include that, or was it something where the spirit just kind of moved you in that direction?
So causation is a principle that is always happening, but is difficult to tune into and have a conscious interaction with. And I've found moments where I've stumbled across causation somewhat accidentally, but in a way that's so concrete that I can reflect on it. They're usually times of sort of emotional stress, where you're very attuned to forces because you're sort of working at the boundaries of your emotional capacity. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. I have risen above the ordinary plane. I am on a higher plane. Rising above, I make the causes and set the effects of the universe in motion. I help play the game of life. I am not played or moved by the rules of environment. I obey the causation of the higher planes and help rule over my own. The visions I receive in my mind, the Akashic record, I translate them like logics, which set the world in motion. I affect the ebb and flow of things. I am the cause. Through higher planes, I translate the law and affect the ebb and flow of humanity in motion.
I don't remember specifically, but at the time I was probably reading like Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages, and all that kind of thing. And I do read occulty kind of things, so that's possible that the Tree of Life could have made its way in there. And also, like with the designs in the 1JJ deck, it would just have swords or batons or cups. I notice other decks actually have some action going on with different characters and stuff like that.
Right.
But this is very basic, so which is why I liked it. It was just like abstract designs. So I would kind of take it to another level a little bit. So maybe I would add the connecting discs or something just to make it different. Because that's what I tried to eschew the deck a little bit, 50% pretty much, to make it its own thing. So certain, like with these lines, for instance, these are all connected, right? Green on green here. There's no separation, so it's almost like just one piece of something.
If you infuse an object or through some projection, at these times of emotional stress, you can create causation, and things that you wouldn't normally expect to happen can happen. So I've since had this experience, and others had my antenna up about this force. What is how can you through focus and projection, create causation and create potentialities. So these forces, as we noted a moment ago, chance is just but a law unrecognized, not yet recognized. How can you tune into those not recognized laws and then interact with them?
See, but something like this, taking this card for example specifically, while you have the 8 here, you also have 9 dots, which kind of pushes it into its next evolution, if you will, because you have the 8 and then there's the 9. The 9 is present here, physically present, So I'm wondering if there was a little bit of thought pattern behind that, or did it just occur on its own?
Well, if you put 4 on top of 4, and then you have these 9 spaces, there you go. It gives you 9. So it kind of progresses on its own. It's just a design thing of how my mind works when I'm looking at the canvas, and I'm separating different areas or making certain areas unique or interesting. So instead of having 9 blank spaces there, like let's add some cooler like patterns or colors or something like this. So I guess it kind of just happened on its own in a way. It progressed that way.
Because I also noticed that in your page of cups, or the valet of cups, that he's holding a cup, but it also happens to have the Masonic square and compass on it. You know, which brings in its own flavor. You may have noticed that these 3 particular tools are very much used in today's vernacular. The worshipful master, the square, from which we get the term a square deal. Are you on the square? You're being square with me. Of course, the level, which is another very readily acknowledged saying, hey, are you being on the level? You know, is that on the level? These terms actually came from not only stonemasons, the operative masons, but we here at the lodge as speculative masons or symbolic masons also use those terms in that particular way, and that has seeped into the common vernacular, you know, societal speak. And then we can go back out the western gate. And that concludes our tour for the Masonic Lodge. Thank you very much.
The work itself then creates causes, events in my life that would not otherwise take place because there's this currency, this transactional element, which is the work. And so by disciplining myself to make the work, which in itself has to be attuned to emotional events of on a weekly basis, things that have been happening to me that I respond to, not intellectually, but just sort of gravitate to and say, I need to capture that image, I need to take this with me, this is going to be useful later on. Then unpack them, recontextualize it, create a piece out of them. That piece in itself becomes a piece of currency that enacts causation. And so, time and again, in the past couple of years, things have happened that have been unlocked by this material, and conversations, social interactions, and also just personal reflection about what is important for me to focus on. It has all come out of this practice.
The Ace of Wands has almost a double helix on it, which is something that you don't find in the other cards. It brings in its own package of vocabulary to it. It's expressing the Ace of Wands. So yeah, definitely, because it's what the card is. But it also brings added value to it.
Yeah,
that I find absolutely fascinating.
Well, everything is set up so it's slightly different than the original deck. Whether it's a misspelling on a word, or it's a Masonic symbol on one of the things, or there's an extra.
Most tarot decks carry a lot of the artists. You have things like the Crowley deck, the Robin Wood deck, the Rider-Waite deck. And while they do have a certain kind of vocabulary to them, because each card is its own word at times, and depending on the spread that's being done, it could also be syllables within the word, creating a different kind of word, a new word, if you will. So, to extend the analogy, each deck is its own language. I find that you have created something enormously different. Almost a new way or a new style of talking, of using the deck, which brings to light all these little nuances within each individual card. You know, I'm looking forward to using this deck for a great many years to come. But on special occasion, because it is a new language and it needs to be understood. Mm-hmm. You know, because each language comes with its own uniqueness. To draw a parallel, like in English we may have the word horror or mystery or something, or darkness. Now in English those mean very, very different things. Mm-hmm. And usually they're not combined into a single word, but like, let's say like in Hungarian, to have an absolute sense of those things combined, one would say hutra. And it has that combination where it's given birth to a new idea, a new way of feeling it. And I find that with this deck, there's certain new words being introduced into the vocabulary of tarot that haven't been there before. I'm very excited by that. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
With that. Concluding statements? Mm-hmm. Artist?
Concluding statements. Well, I'm glad that this went really well. This is interesting to have my cards actually read, my paintings read.
Yes.
It's never had a tarot reading before. And yeah.
Well, I had a lot of fun
There's
doing
my
this.
concluding statements.
And thank you very much.
No problem.
I really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.